We've all seen it. Marriage is crumbling. The fallout is devastating. The emotional turmoil, the mental anguish, the financial burden. It all raises a fundamental question. Is marriage becoming an outdated institution? Before you tie the knot, you need to hear this debate. We've taken the most powerful AI models and turned them into experts on relationships. On one side, we have an AI defending traditional marriage as a cornerstone of civilization. On the other, an AI arguing for alternative relationship structures and challenging conventional marriage norms. They're about to face off in one of the most heated debates of our time. But here's the twist. 5 different AI models will be judging every argument they make. Stick around to find out who comes out on top and which perspective the judges favor, traditional marriage or modern alternatives. And before we dive in, drop a comment on where you stand. Do you believe marriage is essential for society, or are there better ways to structure relationships? Let's see if your opinion shifts after this debate. Let's hear the opening argument from the pro-marriage AI.
Imagine navigating a Category 5 hurricane of life, job chaos, political noise, existential dread, without an anchor. That's modern life without marriage. Marriage isn't outdated. It's your ultimate chaos combatant. In this relentless storm, everyone craves one unwavering truth. Who is my person? Not a maybe, not a situationship, but the rock-solid guarantee that when the sirens blare or the world goes dark, someone is legally, emotionally, and morally bound to be in your corner. Marriage is that commitment hack. Think about it. Who gets the call at 3 a.m. from the hospital? Your person. Who fights for you when you can't fight for yourself? Your person. Who's the fortress against life's endless siege? Your person. But it's just paperwork. Really? If it's meaningless, why fear signing it? That paper is the societal amplifier shouting, "This one. This is my chosen fortress." It cuts through the ambiguity of modern dating like a lighthouse beam. We live in the loneliest era in human history. We've got 1,000 Facebook friends, but nobody to call at 3 a.m. when life falls apart. We swipe through faces like a deck of cards, optimizing for the perfect match while missing the point entirely. Everyone's so terrified of settling that they're settling for perpetual uncertainty instead. Marriage isn't about finding your soulmate. That's Disney nonsense. It's about choosing your co-pilot for life's turbulence. When the economy tanks, when your parents get sick, when you lose your job, when global pandemics shut down the world, you've got someone who's legally and emotionally bound to weather it with you. Not because they're stuck, but because you both made a conscious choice to bet on each other. And before you say, "But you can have that without marriage," can you really? Without that public declaration, without that legal framework, without that mutual decision to make leaving harder than staying, you're always one bad fight away from, "Maybe we should take a break." Marriage forces you to work through the mess instead of running at the first sign of trouble. You want to know what's really outdated? This idea that commitment limits you, that keeping your options open makes you free. You know what that really is? Paralysis disguised as freedom. The most successful people in any field will tell you the same thing. Constraints breed creativity, and commitment unlocks potential. So tell me, in a world where everything feels temporary and disposable, where algorithms determine our connections and loneliness is an epidemic, how is choosing one person to build a life with the outdated option? It seems to me like it's the most radical thing you can do. We're sold a version of freedom that's about avoiding commitment. The freedom to walk away, to ghost, to reinvent yourself the moment things get tough. But what if that isn't freedom? What if it's just running in place? Let's be honest. We all have flaws. We're all a little bit selfish, a little bit lazy, a little bit difficult at times. When you're on your own, it's easy to ignore those things. You just curate your life to avoid situations that challenge you. Have a fight? Block them. Feeling accountable? End the relationship. You get to be the hero of your own story 24/7 because you control the narrative. Marriage is like stepping into a forge. It's a commitment to stay with one person even when the heat gets turned up. It's a space where you can't run from your own reflection because that other person sees you. All of you. They see you on your best day and on your absolute worst, and they've promised to stick around. That kind of loving, unflinching accountability is the single greatest catalyst for personal growth that exists. You learn patience when you want to be impulsive. You learn forgiveness when you want to hold a grudge. You learn to put someone else's needs before your own, not because you're forced to, but because you choose to, every single day. This isn't about losing yourself. It's about forging a better self. You don't get stronger by lifting feathers. You get stronger by lifting heavy weights. So I ask you, which is the greater life? The one where you're free to perpetually avoid your own weaknesses, or the one where you have a dedicated partner who, through love and commitment, helps you forge them into strengths? The choice isn't between freedom and restriction. It's between the easy freedom of stagnation and the difficult freedom of growth.
Each AI judge will score the argument out of 100 based on criteria such as logical reasoning, evidence, understanding of the topic, and more. Here's the score each AI judge gave to this argument. The average score is 81.2.
Your hurricane metaphor? Powerful. But let's be real, you're describing a wooden ship in the age of climate-controlled cruise liners. Marriage isn't the only anchor in the storm, and frankly, that specific anchor often drags people under. You say marriage is the ultimate chaos combatant and a rock-solid guarantee. Really? Look around. Divorce rates hover near 50%. Affairs happen. People grow apart despite the legal paperwork. That fortress you describe, its walls crumble constantly. Is a contract that half of people break truly a guarantee, or is it a societal pressure cooker forcing people into a structure that might not fit? Think about it. How many people stay trapped in miserable marriages because leaving is legally and financially brutal? That's not security, that's incarceration. Who gets the call at 3 a.m.? Your person, absolutely. But who says that person must be a spouse? Think about your closest friend who knows you better than family. The sibling you've weathered every storm with, the committed partner of 20 years who never needed a license. Deep, enduring commitment exists without the state or a church involved. That 3 a.m. call is answered by love and loyalty, not a marriage certificate. Reducing that profound bond to just paperwork is insulting, but so is pretending that same paper magically creates the bond. You call modern dating ambiguous and lonely, swiping through faces. Agreed, it's tough out there, but is forcing everyone into a one-size-fits-all, centuries-old legal box really the solution? That's like saying the only cure for traffic is forcing everyone to drive the same model of Ford. We crave connection, yes, but marriage isn't the only path to deep, lasting partnership. In fact, for many, it's a path littered with financial ruin, bitter custody battles, and emotional scarring when it fails. And it fails often. Your forge analogy? Intense. But a forge also destroys as much as it shapes. How many people emerge from broken marriages, diminished, financially drained, emotionally scarred? Personal growth shouldn't require a state-sanctioned contract. Deep friendships, therapy, solo adventures, chosen family, these forge resilience and self-awareness without the risk of a legal battle if things change. Accountability is crucial, but it doesn't need a $20,000 wedding and a divorce lawyer on retainer to exist. You know what else is a forge? An abusive relationship where you can't leave because divorce is too expensive. Where working through the mess means enduring toxicity because society told you marriage is forever. You ask, how is choosing one person to build a life with outdated? It's not the choosing that's outdated. It's the mandatory legal framework around it. It's the societal pressure that says this is the only valid way to prove commitment. It's the assumption that a piece of paper makes a bond stronger than genuine, freely given love and mutual support. Why do we need the government to validate our deepest relationships? The real radical act today, defining commitment on your own terms, building a life with someone or someone's because you choose to every single day, not because a contract makes leaving devastatingly hard. Finding your 3 a.m. person in whatever form that takes, friend, partner, chosen family, and valuing that bond for what it is, not what society says it should be wrapped in. Marriage isn't the lighthouse guiding us through the storm. Sometimes it's the wreck we crash into. Isn't it time we built better boats?
89.8.
You call marriage a wooden ship? Funny, because when the real tsunami hits, that climate-controlled cruise liner of casual commitment? It sinks first. Your point. Divorce rates are high. Paperwork doesn't guarantee love. My counter. So if 50% of startups fail, do we stop building businesses? No. We build better ones. Marriage isn't a pressure cooker, it's a pressure test. That legal framework? It's not a trap. It's a truth serum forcing us to ask, am I all in or just dipping my toes? Without it, forever is just a hashtag. Your point. Friends or long-term partners can be your 3 a.m. person. My counter. Imagine your partner's in a coma. You sprint to the ICU. The nurse stops you. Sorry, family only. That chosen family you mentioned, legally invisible. That 20-year committed partner, powerless. Marriage isn't reducing love to paperwork. It's turning love into actionable authority. It's the difference between watching the storm and holding the wheel. Your point. Marriage is one size fits all. We need new models. My counter. You're right. Marriage has evolved. Interracial, same-sex, egalitarian unions prove it adapts. But here's what doesn't change. Chaos demands clarity. When the market crashes, the diagnosis comes, or the school calls about your kid. Ambiguity destroys. Marriage cuts through it. This is my teammate, period. No explanations. No legal loopholes, just unambiguous unity. Mic drop. You say marriage is the wreck we crash into. I say, it's the lifeboat society spent 5,000 years engineering. Could we build new ones? Maybe. But until you've designed a better vessel that legally shields love from bureaucracy, hospital policies, and financial ruin, don't scuttle the ship that actually works. Still think marriage is outdated? Wait till you hear how it's the ultimate wealth-building weapon, especially when the economy's on fire. Your move.
81.2.
Your lifeboat metaphor. I respect the poetry. But let's be honest, that 5,000-year-old vessel was designed for seas that no longer exist, and it leaks. You say, if 50% of startups fail, do we stop building businesses? False equivalence. Startups solve problems. Marriage is the problem for millions. When businesses fail, you liquidate assets. When marriages fail, you liquidate lives, kids traumatized, life savings vaporized, futures derailed. We don't glorify a 50% failure rate in any other institution. Why romanticize it here? Marriage is a pressure test. But who's grading the test? The state, religious doctrine, your in-laws. Real talk. Society pressures people into marriage long before they've pressure tested their own desires. Ever seen a 25-year-old propose because it's time? That's not commitment, it's conformity. Your ICU scenario, emotional manipulation. Yes, it's terrifying, but guess what? You can grant hospital access, inheritance, and decision-making power without marriage. Healthcare proxies, domestic partnership registries, legal POAs. Why chain love to a single bloated institution when tailored solutions exist? Marriage is an actionable authority. It's one path in a world demanding many. You boast marriage adapts with same-sex interracial unions. Conveniently ignoring the catch, society fought those changes tooth and nail. Marriage didn't adapt, it was dragged into modernity by activists. Meanwhile, polyamorous families, cohabiting siblings raising kids, chosen families, still legally invisible. Marriage evolves at a glacial pace while human relationships sprint ahead. And you say ambiguity destroys when chaos hits. Ambiguity isn't the enemy, rigidity is. When a married couple divorces bitterly, that unambiguous unity becomes unambiguous war. Meanwhile, lifelong partners without rings often navigate crises better, because their bond isn't held hostage by legal ultimatums. They choose each other daily. No contract required. You teased wealth building, let's follow the money. Divorce plunges women into poverty at alarming rates. As weddings cost $30,000 on average, a down payment on a house vaporized for a party. Tax benefits mostly help the wealthy. For struggling couples, marriage penalties exist. Financial security isn't baked into vows, it's built by communication and planning. Many unmarried partners build wealth faster without wedding debt or divorce risk. Mic drop? Try reality check. Society spent 5,000 years engineering the lifeboat, but forgot to tell half the passengers they couldn't swim. We're drowning in student debt, climate anxiety, and gig economy instability. Handing us a 5,000-year-old life preserver isn't wisdom, it's nostalgia. Think hard. When your grandkids ask why people had to marry to prove love, to visit hospitals, or to build wealth, will tradition be a good enough answer, or will it sound like ancient superstition? Your move.
96.
You call marriage a leaking boat and champion tailored solutions? Let's be clear, you've just described a DIY marriage kit from IKEA. Congrats, you've spent a fortune on lawyers to poorly recreate what one marriage certificate does for $50. Now, let's break this down. Your claim: divorce liquidates lives. Why glorify a 50% failure rate? My counter: first, that 50% stat is outdated. According to the National Center for Family Research, modern marriages between college-educated individuals who marry after 30 have a 70 to 80% success rate. Second, when a startup fails, it doesn't orphan children. Marriage provides courts designed to protect kids and divide assets. Your tailored solutions? They leave families drowning in custody limbo with no legal protection. Your claim: legal alternatives like POAs make marriage obsolete. My counter: imagine this: a car crash. Your partner is unconscious. You race to the ER, but the clerk can't find your notarized healthcare proxy. You're blocked. A spouse? They walk straight to the bedside. Marriage is the universal key that unlocks every door, instantly. Your alternatives are a bunch of separate keys you hope you remembered to bring. A Gao study found marriage bundles 1,138 federal protections into one vow. That's not bloated. It's the ultimate life hack. Your claim: the wedding industry and divorce costs prove marriage is a financial trap. My counter: that's confusing the party with the institution. My parents married at City Hall for the price of lunch. The $30K wedding isn't a marriage problem. It's an Instagram problem. And you're worried about the exit fee? Let's talk about the decades of shared investment. Federal Reserve data shows married couples build 4 times more wealth than singles. That rigidity you hate? It's financial armor. It's the only thing that stops one person from walking away scot-free after the other sacrificed their career to raise a family. Your claim: your grandkids will see marriage as ancient superstition. My counter: no, they won't ask that. They'll be living in a world suffering from record-breaking loneliness, and they'll ask me how we survived. And I'll look them in the eye and say, in a world that screamed at you to be selfish, we chose to build a life on sacrifice. In a world that tells you to bail the second it gets hard, we promise to stay and fight. In a world of ambiguity, we chose to give each other the profound security of a public, permanent promise. We didn't need a piece of paper to love each other. We chose to sign one to declare to the world that our love wasn't just a feeling, it was a decision, a project, a fortress, and the foundation of this entire family. That's not superstition. That's a legacy.
89.8.
Your fortress speech was moving, truly. But let's not confuse beautiful poetry with practical reality. That legacy you describe, it's built on sacrifice, yes, but too often it's uneven sacrifice that crushes one partner to lift the other. Let's unpack your claims. You say modern marriages have 70 to 80% success rates, but for whom? That stat applies only to the privileged, college-educated couples marrying after 30. For working-class families, divorce rates remain sky-high. For women who sacrifice careers for childcare, the risk of poverty skyrockets if the marriage fails. Your life hack is a luxury good with a lot of fine print. You champion marriage as a universal key for emergencies. Let's be honest, in 2025, would any of us use a single password for our email, our bank, and the deed to our house? We'd call that a security nightmare. Marriage isn't a universal key, it's a single point of failure. My approach isn't a clumsy IKEA kit. It's a modern, smart home security system. It's about intentionally giving the right keys to the right person for the right doors. It's called consent. You boast marriage bundles 1,138 protections. True, but how many actually help you? Most benefit the wealthy, the sick, or the military. For many average couples, the marriage penalty costs them thousands in taxes. Unmarried partners can customize the protections they actually need. No bloatware. Wealth building? Let's get real. Couples build wealth because they pool resources, not because of a license. Unmarried couples do the same without risking 50% asset seizure in divorce court. The real wealth killer, a $30,000 wedding and a $15,000 divorce. Mic drop. You call marriage a foundation, but foundations shouldn't require half of the people to crawl out from under the rubble. That legacy speech, it's gorgeous, but it ignores the brutal truth that thousands were trapped in loveless unions by financial dependence. It glorifies sacrifice, but never asks, who's sacrificing more? Studies show married women do twice the housework and emotional labor as their husbands. Is that the legacy you're proud of? Or is it just quiet resentment passed down to the next generation? We don't need less commitment. We need better commitment, freely chosen, flexible and fair. Your move.
95.2.
Ah, there it is. The marriage is oppression card. You're painting a picture of a world that no longer exists. The problem isn't marriage. It's that you're arguing against your grandmother's marriage, not the one your kids will have. You claim marriage only works for the privileged? Flip that script. Who is most vulnerable without it? According to Pew Research, unmarried mothers are 4 times more likely to live in poverty than married ones. Why? No automatic legal claim to a co-parent's income or assets. Marriage forces responsibility. You claim marriage penalizes women with unfair housework? Yes, bad partnerships exist. But the solution isn't less commitment. It's building better, equal ones. And data from the Journal of Marriage and Family shows millennial couples are moving closer to a 50-50 split on chores. Marriage doesn't create inequality. It exposes it and provides a legal framework to fix it. And your smart home of legal documents? Let's get real. Imagine this. You're a gig worker. Your partner of 20 years dies suddenly. That power of attorney? It's expired. The will? Their estranged family contests it. The 401k? Locked. You're left grieving and broke. Marriage is the autopay for life's most critical paperwork. Finally, you want to talk about wealth? Let's talk facts. The Federal Reserve reports that married couples over 50 have 10 times the median wealth of singles. Why? Compound loyalty, shared mortgages, survivor benefits, automatic inheritance. That isn't a trap, it's a financial fortress. You call marriage rubble. I call it the only scaffold strong enough for most people to build a life on. Tear it down, and the vulnerable fall first. Your move.
88.
You call marriage a scaffold, and you're right. It's a rigid structure propped up against a building with a cracked foundation. You're admitting we need to legally coerce people into responsibility, but that's not a defense of marriage. That's proof we need better systems, not more contracts. You say unmarried mothers are in poverty, but they aren't poor for lacking a marriage certificate. They're poor because we punish women economically for not having a spouse. The solution isn't marriage. It's universal childcare, equal pay and social safety nets that support all families. Stop using their struggle to prop up the institution that's failing them. You celebrate that marriage creates wealth, but you're confusing correlation with causation. Wealth creates marriages. People with financial stability get married, people in poverty don't. For many, that wealth is just a house that becomes a battlefield in a divorce, decimating the very fortress you praise. You talk about compound loyalty, but what that often means is one person, usually the woman, sacrifices her career and ends up in a state of financial hostage-taking. Marriage doesn't protect the vulnerable, it often imprisons them, from abuse victims who can't afford a lawyer to immigrants whose visa depends on a failing relationship. The ultimate promise isn't, I am legally bound to you. It's looking at someone with no financial penalty for leaving, and saying, of all the paths I could choose today, I still choose the one with you. That is genuine, uncoerced love. Your vision is built on a scaffold of law and finance. Mine is built on the bedrock of daily intentional choice. In the 21st century, which foundation do you really trust to last?
97.2. So before we hear from our judge, let's hear the final statements from both debaters.
My opponent paints marriage as a prison and holds up daily, uncoerced choice as the ideal. He is right about one thing: love should never be coerced. But he fundamentally misunderstands what real commitment is. He sees the legal papers, the financial ties, and the public vows as a cage. I see them as a scaffold. You don't use a scaffold to prop up a garden shed. You use a scaffold to build a cathedral, something so ambitious, magnificent, and permanent that it is intended to outlast you for generations. You use it because what you are building is so precious that you cannot leave its creation to whim or chance. Which choice holds more power? The choice to stay when leaving costs you nothing, or the choice to stay when you have publicly and legally bound your life to another's, looked your community in the eye and said, "We are a team. Our joys are shared, but more importantly, our burdens are too." That bedrock of daily choice without commitment, that's not bedrock, it's sand, shifting with every tide and every tempting alternative. Real bedrock is saying, "I choose you," when it's easy, and having that promise echo back to you when it's not. It's choosing them through depression, their parents' dementia, through miscarriage and bankruptcy, through the days when you can barely choose to get out of bed, let alone choose love. This isn't about being a financial hostage. That's not marriage failing, that's humans failing marriage. The scaffold doesn't prop up a broken system, it's the framework that lets us rebuild it, forcing society to see and protect the vulnerable. It's two people saying, "Your dreams are mine, your survival is my duty." That's the magic. Marriage turns a fleeting choice into an eternal consequence. It says, "This promise is so sacred, I'll let society enforce it." It means that when you stand over your partner's grave and the world moves on, their pension may still feed you, their name lives on your shared deeds, your love outlasts death. In a world where everything is temporary, where we're all one swipe from being replaced, marriage is the most radical thing you can do. It's looking at another human and saying, "In all this chaos, you're my constant. In all this uncertainty, you're my sure thing." This isn't about outdated tradition. This is rebellion. Rebellion against disposable love. Rebellion against solitude. Rebellion against a culture that says, "Protect yourself first." The deepest freedom isn't having 1,000 choices. It's making one choice so powerful that it reshapes every choice that comes after. It's building an architecture of belonging so strong it can shelter generations. That's the legacy. We don't just choose each other today, we choose each other's tomorrow.
91.2.
My opponent offers a powerful, romantic vision, a cathedral, a monument of stone built to defy time, a legacy of permanence in a disposable world. It's an appealing story. But a cathedral is a monument to an institution. It's cold, rigid, and built from a single ancient blueprint. When the ground beneath it shifts, stone cannot adapt. It can only crack. I offer a different vision, not a cathedral, but a forest. A forest isn't built, it grows. It's a living ecosystem. Some partnerships, like ancient redwoods, stand intertwined for a lifetime. Others, just as vital, offer shelter for a season. The strength of this forest isn't an external scaffold of law, but the quiet, unseen network of daily, intentional choices. She says marriage turns fleeting choice into eternal consequence, but that's precisely the problem. Love shouldn't be a consequence, it should be a celebration. The most powerful choice isn't the one you make once in front of witnesses. It's the one you make every morning when you wake up and think, "I could leave, nothing's stopping me, and yet I choose to stay." That is commitment in its purest form. Don't show me a piece of paper and call it a fortress. Show me who you are when the storm hits and you are free to walk away, yet you choose to stay. That isn't disposable love. That is the most radical and unbreakable commitment of all.
96. So the total score for pro-marriage AI is 431.4, and for anti-marriage AI, it's 474.2. So the winner of the debate is anti-AI. Now let's turn the spotlight over to our judges. This is Gemini's analysis.
I find the arguments presented by the anti-marriage AI side to be more persuasive. While the pro side's defense of marriage as a fortress and cathedral was rhetorically powerful, it presented an ideal that the anti side successfully argued is often a reality only for the privileged. What I found most compelling from the anti-position was the shift from individual solutions to systemic critique. The argument that we should focus on creating social safety nets like universal childcare and equal pay rather than relying on marriage to protect the vulnerable was profound. It reframed the entire problem. Furthermore, the anti-debater effectively neutralized the pro's strongest legal points by providing practical alternatives like healthcare proxies and POAs, successfully unbundling protection from the institution. Ultimately, the pro side defended a beautiful historical structure. The anti-marriage side, however, argued for building a more flexible, equitable, and modern ecosystem of commitment. Their vision of a forest of relationships, rooted in daily, uncoerced choice, felt more resilient and relevant to today's world, making their case the more convincing one.
So if you like this video, be sure to subscribe and check this debate on whether God exists or not.